Hello, and shalom to my brothers and sisters in Master Yeshua the Messiah who have his testimony and guard his commandments. Brother Nick here, and today's the 5th day of the 11th month on Elohim's official Enoch calendar. It's January 22nd, 2021, and this video is on the 360-day prophetic calendar. In this video, I will define and explain the 360-day prophetic calendar. The 360-day prophetic calendar is the calendar and counting method to biblically count or reckon the time and days of prophecies. The 360-day prophetic calendar is a variation of and comes from the 364-day Enoch solar calendar. This means to use and count on the 360-day prophetic calendar, one must correctly understand and have the correct version of the official 364-day Enoch calendar, which is the one that I publish. What makes my 364-day Enoch calendar unique to all the other published incorrect Enoch calendars is that my version uses the great sign of the sun, which is the spring equinox, every year for its purpose. And the purpose of the spring equinox is to calibrate that new calendar year, and the result is a 364-day calendar year every year upon the spring equinox. Many Enoch calendars do not complete a full 364 days every year. Some years, their incorrect calendar version is cut short of the required 364 days, and then other years, their false calendar version goes several days beyond the 365.25-day solar cycle. And thus, their calendars are incorrectly calibrated, false, and produce a vicious cycle. My calendar calibration method, or set of rules of the official Enoch calendar that I publish, produces a harmonious cycle of 364 days a year every year, while all other versions fail and do not. In this video that you are watching, I will define the correct 364-day Enoch solar calendar. I will then share the 360-day prophetic calendar found in 1 Enoch chapter 72, and will show what the 360-day prophetic calendar is. And lastly, I will demonstrate how to count the 1,260-day prophecy of Revelation. For those who don't understand, the calendar year is 364 days, and the following are all the mentions of the year being 364 days only or exactly, and completed in 364 days. So there are 5 locations in the book of Enoch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all found in 1 Enoch, that the year is 364 days exactly. There are 2 locations of a 364-day mention in Jubilees, chapter 6, right here and right here. And then lastly, I found 2 locations in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which also state that the year is 364 days, right here in the Genesis Apocryphon and in the Secretarian calendar, where it talks about the year's complete 364 days. If the version of the Enoch calendar you use does not produce a 364-day year every year and also accounts for the spring equinox, which is the 365th day of the solar cycle, and the leap day that happens every 4th year, then your calendar version is wrong and incorrect. I have several videos that explain the 364-day calendar versus the 365.25-day solar cycle. If you haven't seen these videos, I suggest that you educate yourself. But this will provide the clarity that you're searching for into comprehending and understanding the difference between the calendar and the solar cycle. There are many false and incorrect versions of the Enoch calendar. In my time researching, contemplating, and restoring the Enoch calendar and its lost calendar concepts, I ran into many different published calendar versions having different rules. The problem with all of these calendars, they all have the same problem, is that none of the calendars produce consecutive, ongoing 364-day calendar years every year, and also use the spring equinox for its purpose, which is to calibrate or recalibrate the new calendar year, and also recalibrate the new days of the week every year upon the spring equinox. This means that the many false and incorrect versions of the Enoch calendar do not complete a full 364 days every year on an ongoing and continuing basis. Some years their false calendars versions is cut short of the required 364 days, and some years their false calendar versions goes several days up to a week beyond the 365.25 day solar cycle, and thus their calendars are incorrectly calibrated, false, and produce a vicious cycle. Here are several of them that I've mentioned in my videos. So again, the main reason the false and incorrect versions of the Enoch calendar fail, I have explained in this video of mine. It's because their publishers, these people here, fail to understand that the spring equinox calibrates, recalibrates, resets the calendar and also the days of the week. Rather, these authors of confusion use the Gregorian days of the week, and they adjust and calibrate their calendar to the Gregorian days of the week, and thus adding all of these extra leap days and leap week in this case, rather than understanding that the Gregorian days of the week are not true, and that the Sabbath was lost, and that the Gregorian days of the week are false and not Yahweh Elohim's heavenly days of the week of his solar calendar in heaven. Thus, their calendars some years are too long and some years too short, and they have the incorrect days. If any of this information I've shared with you so far is challenging, I suggest that you watch my playlist on the official Enoch calendar to understand my restored calendar concept that I've published. So one important concept that I've published is that the 365th day of the calendar year, which is the day of the spring equinox, is not a part of the calendar. Rather, it belongs to the solar cycle. And I explained that in the missing 365th day found and cursed day of Job's birth. So that is the answer, and this is what my hypothesis and I believe my proven theory now is regarding this concept. So if you need to understand the difference, why the calendar is 364 days and not 365 days, watch these 3 videos. So the calendar is not a solar cycle, but it is based on the solar cycle and renews itself every year. And I just want to make sure that I disclaim that since I've published my version on the calendar 3 years ago now almost on YouTube, I've had several viewers comment that they also independently came to the same calibration, understanding, and method as mine. So hallelujah, all praise to the Father and to the Son that we all have come to the same understanding. And I suggest everybody test their method and test my method that I present to you in all of my playlists. So here is my Enoch calendar 364-day template. This is just a template, and as you can see, here is the day of the spring equinox, and then you have 12 months. And each month consists of 30 days. So 12 times 30 is 360 days. And then every third month on the calendar, you have a day of the season. So you see one down here, 31st day right here, 31st day right here, and 31st day right here. Thus, the calendar is 360 days plus 4 days. It's 364 days long. And that the spring equinox, the year before, and the spring equinox after are not part of the calendar year, but rather it was removed from the calendar by Job. And Job, as I mentioned, is antediluvian. He is pre-flood, and he removed the day that he was born, and he removed this day from the calendar year. So the calendar used to be a solar cycle, but when he removed the day of his birth, which he cursed from the calendar became 364 days, not 365.25. And for that 0.25 day, there's just a leap day before the spring equinox, and that day also is not reckoned in the 364-day year. So now let me go ahead and explain the 360-day prophetic calendar, which I just partially explained, which are these 12 months of 30 days per month. So that means that the 4 intercalary days of the season are not included in the 360-day prophetic calendar year. And where do we get this understanding from? We get it right here from Enoch chapter 75, verse 1 and 2. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office according to the reckoning of the year, which is the 364-day year. And these render service on the 4 days, which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. Speaking of the prophetic year. So we see 2 different calendar years. And now let me give you this. And owing to them, men go wrong therein. So when you count and reconcile the prophecies, men go wrong in owing to them because they count those 4 extracalary days and they don't understand how to count the days. And also they count the spring equinox, which is not part of the calendar year. So with that being said, the days of the seasons and also the spring equinox are not part of the 360-day prophetic calendar year, as I will show you right now in this slide as I grade them out. This calendar is the 360-day prophetic calendar. As you notice, the day of the spring equinoxes have been removed, and also down at the bottom that the 4 intercalary days of the seasons have also been removed. Now we are not going to err in owing to them in our reckoning of counting the prophetic days. As you can see, there are 12 months with 30 days per month. 12 times 30 is 360 days, and this is the 360-day prophetic calendar, which is a variation of the 364-day official Enoch calendar. Now that I've showed you the 360-day prophetic calendar, let me give you some examples of counting biblical prophecies using the 360-day prophetic calendar. Again, which is its own version of the Enoch calendar. So 430 days that Ezekiel laid on his sides, that's like a prophecy. I have a video on that. The 1,260 days, which is 42 months of Daniel and Revelation. The 1,290 days prophecy of Daniel. The 5 months prophecy of Revelation. The 2,300-day prophecy of Daniel. And also the 1,335-day prophecy of Daniel. So to count these prophecies, you have to have the correct Enoch calendar and then have the understanding to drop those 4 days in your reckoning and have the 360-day prophetic calendar. And now that I've explained that, let me go ahead and demonstrate to you how to properly count these prophecies on the Enoch calendar. So here are the counting of the 1,260 days, which we know is 42 months, which is also 3.5 years of Daniel and Revelation. And I'm going to count this for you and demonstrate how to count it on the 360-day prophetic calendar. So Revelation chapter 11, verse 2 to 3. Quote, "But count the court which is without the temple, leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth." So in this verses right here, we understand that 1,260 days equals 42 months. Now on a lunar calendar, that doesn't work. On a 364-day solar calendar, that doesn't work. You have to have the 360-day prophetic calendar. And on a 360-day calendar, 42 months exactly equals 1,260 prophetic days. That is how this works. As the days of the season, as I explained earlier, are not reckoned. Okay? And we also see in Revelation 12:6 and 12:14 that 1,260 days equals a time, times, and a half of a time. So 3.5 years. So now let me go ahead and get back to the calendar, and I'm going to count you the 1,260 days. So I'm back here on the 360-day prophetic calendar, which is a variation of the 364-day Enoch solar calendar. And as you see, we have 12 months, and each month is 30 days, so it's 360 days. So to count the 3.5 years, or the 42 months, okay, or the 1,260 days, we have to have a starting date. And my arbitrary starting date that I'm going to choose for this prophecy is I'm going to choose the first day of the 7th month, right here. The 7th month, Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the 7th month, right here. So this calendar, where you see Yom Teruah, where it says Hodesh, this is day 1. And then you have 30 days on it. This is the new month. So this is the first day of the new month. So here I go. I'm going to count 42 months, which is 1,260 days, and you're going to see how this calendar ends. 1 month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to come around. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's one time through. We go again, that's 2 times through, and that's 24 months, ending here on the 30th day of the 6th month. We're going to go 3 times through, that's 3 years. Okay, now we've completed 36 months, ending here on the 30th day of the 6th month. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now count an additional 6 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the last day of that 6th month is the 30th day of the 12th month. What's interesting is after the 30th day of the 12th month is the spring equinox. So this event, or this possible event, which I possibly understand to happen after the 1,260 days, it's going to end the day before the spring equinox. And as I said, the spring equinox is the cursed day of Job's birth, and I understand that an event could possibly start on this day. So I just counted 1,260 prophetic days. Now, if you were to put the start date on the first day of the 7th month, whatever the Gregorian date is, and then put the end date 3.5 years later on this date, whatever the date of the 30th day of the 12th month is, you are going to get more than 1,260 days. That is because the days of the spring equinox, which is about 1 day every year, and also the 4 days of the seasons aren't reckoned in the prophetic count on the 360-day prophetic calendar. This is how you properly count the prophecies and reckon the prophecies. Another demonstration of counting prophetic days is I counted the 430 days that Ezekiel laid on his side on the 360-day prophetic calendar in this video that I published a year and a half ago. And I reckoned that the day that he started, and you count 430 prophetic days, the following day after he completed laying on his side was the first fruits festival of new oil found in the temple scroll of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So if you hadn't seen this, I explained it, and this is the first time that this prophecy was accurately reckoned on a 360-day prophetic calendar, which is a variation of the official Enoch 364-day solar calendar. And the following day, when that was complete, it was the time for new oil. So please go ahead and check out that video if you hadn't seen this video yet. So that's it for this video. And in the description below, where you can download the PDF of the 364-day Enoch calendar template and also the 360-day prophetic calendar template. So I hope that you are blessed by the understanding in this video. And shalom to all my brothers and sisters in Messiah Yeshua who have his testimony and guard his commandments. Shalom to you.